Hey hookers, welcome back to our channel, Hooked on the Books. I am Shantal, your resident, young adult fantasy, new adult fantasy, anything really fantasy and romance lover. And today we're going to be talking about Cassandra Clare's Chain of Gold. Now this came out, I think, March 2020. I don't know what my brain was doing. Actually, I was depressed from losing theater jobs in March 2020. That's what I was doing. So I wasn't really reading. So I decided to pick this up, and I'm also going to read the second one in this series that recently came out March of this year, 2021. But I just wanted to tell you guys about my experience about reading this book. So first what we're going to do a little summary of the book, and then I'm just gonna go in with how I feel about some of the characters. I actually filmed like I was moved by the spirit because I was reading it and I was like, no, I have to turn on my camera and say something because I had all these theories bubbling in my mind. I don't know how many of you read Cassandra Clare, but she's created this entire universe, like the Shadowhunter Universe. She's created it, and it's just been year after year her giving us very traumatic books to read with very traumatic I guess relationships, but they're so heavily romance based you kind of get addicted. So I think that's basically what happened here, but let's get into it. So let's go with the summary first. So Cordelia Carstairs is a shadow hunter, a warrior trained since childhood to battle demons. When her father is accused of a terrible crime, she and her brother travel to London in hopes of preventing the family's ruin. But Cordelia is determined to be a hero rather than a bride. Soon Cordelia encounters childhood friends James and Lucy Herondale and is drawn into their world of glittering ballrooms, secret assignations, and supernatural salons, where vampires and warlocks mingle with mermaids and magicians. All the while, she must hide her secret love for James, who is sworn to marry someone else. There's a little bit more after that, but we don't need that because that was enough. That was enough for us to get where we have to go. So right now, I'm just going to tell you about the characters, and then I'm going to plug in my little vlog clip, and then we'll circle back to me finishing the book. As I said, I have Cordelia Carstairs and her brother Alistair Carstairs and their mother and father. Their father is actually on trial or preparing to be on trial in Alicante, so he is just like locked up. She's trying to fight for her family's honor at this point. So she's entering into London and she's trying to find these ways, and you know how shadow hunters are, everybody's connected, everyone's related to everyone, which is honestly what's really crazy about reading this book, because at some points you're like, okay, who is whose cousin? And then I had to pull out my family tree from Clockwork Prince, which ruined some things for me. Well, not ruined, but like it just had my head spinning. We'll get to that in a second. So we have Cordelia fighting for her father's honor. We have Alistair, her very mean-spirited brother, so it seems. And then we have Lucy, who is Cordelia's future Parbatai. We have James Herondale. So Lucy and James are the children of Will and Tessa. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Okay. And Tessa is a warlock. They're not supposed to be able to reproduce. So how'd you get 2 kids, babe? Not 1, 2, boy and girl. And obviously that's kind of weird because now you're like, okay, well, are they going to be able to be shadow hunters? Like, are they going to be able to take runes? And somehow they are. I guess their like Nephilim blood is a little bit stronger than their demon blood, you think, until you hear about Mr. James falling into the shadow world. So that's kind of his shtick. So his shtick is that throughout this book, he's in and out of the shadow world, right? And we're trying to figure out who his grandfather is, like tracing it all through Tessa. We're using Jem, my baby Jem, and all his little silent brother powers to find out that information, which we do at the end of the book, and it was a lot. For Lucy, again, because she's his sister, she obviously kind of has some powers too, but hers were a little bit more dormant until she meets this ghost called Jesse. Jesse's another character, and you'll hear me rant about him in the little vlog piece, but it was like, I was reading it in the book. All the Herondales can see ghosts. So her coming up to this Jessie character as a child, I was like, whatever, cool, that's normal. And then we get to the future and she's still seeing him, and he's shocked because no one can see him besides his family, which is this bitch Grace and her bitch mother Tatiana. Now my brain starts nagging at me, and here's where we're gonna talk again about the stupid family tree. My brain's nagging at me and I'm like, Jessie Blackthorn, this feels like an important relationship budding. And I do say it in my vlog. I was like, they're setting it up to sound like Lucy and Jessie are gonna be romantic. And I know Lucy gets married. I completely forgot who she got married to. I check the family tree. She gets married to Jessie Blackthorn. He's a ghost, babe. He's a ghost. And not only is he a ghost, but his mother kind of has his soul trapped because she wants to resurrect him. So he is a ghost that is trapped by dark magic, and she is a little girl who has demon blood running through her. It's getting weird. And then later on, we figure out that she's kind of like this like queen of necromancy, and she has control over ghosts. Like, she can make them do what she wants them to do. But that whole him being a ghost and them getting married thing, it was too much for me to handle when I was reading. Let's talk about Cordelia and James. Cordelia's been in love with James forever. That's just the plot. The plot is Cordelia is in love with James point blank, and she thinks James doesn't see her that way. James sees her as a little sister, even though he has the cutest name for her, Daisy. He called her Daisy from this one time that Cordelia saved Lucy from, I guess, falling off a cliff or something. Whatever, it's cute and I'm here for it. Now, it seems that James is in love, or promised, or has an understanding, is how they would say it in that time, to Grace, whom I do not like one bit. The first time she entered these pages, I said something is up. I'm suspicious. And again, when you get back to the vlog part, you're gonna be like, Shantal knew that something was up, okay? So he's all in love with her, and the only times he sees her is in summers when he goes to Idris and he stays at his little family home there because the Blackthorns live next door in a rundown ass home, because Tatiana is she's the daughter, right? She's the daughter of Benedict Lightwood, and if you read what was it, Infernal? If you read Clockwork, then you would know Benedict had all these like demons and shit that he was raising, and it was actually like Will and Jem who killed him. Whatever. So Tatiana is out for blood. She hates the Shadowhunters. She thinks they ruined her life and killed her son and killed her father and killed her husband. She's blaming everyone for everything. So I was like, okay, that's motive. And now you have this little girl, Grace, who is all frail and not a Shadowhunter, but like James all of a sudden loves her because he spends all his summers with her and they talk a lot. Okay, cool, strange, whatever. There's made mention of a particular piece of jewelry that she'd given James after James retrieved it on her behalf. She gave James this piece of jewelry, and ever since she gave James that piece of jewelry, baby, he's been transfixed. So I was like, okay, something's witchy. Something's witchy. So that's Grace done with. We don't need to talk about her anymore because she is bleh. Bleh. I want her out. I need Cordelia to use her family sword, Cortana, to punch that bitch's lights out immediately. Double homicide. I need her gone. Her and Tatiana. Double homicide. Gone. Now, we also have the Merry Bunch of Thieves, or Merry Thieves, and that is basically James's group that he's kind of the leader of, and that has Matthew, Christopher, and Thomas. Matthew gives very much broken hero vibes. He's like an alcoholic. It comes out later on in the book that he might have murdered somebody, and that's the cause of his like spiral. We have Christopher, who is a little inventor, so he's kind of in charge of inventing all these things. And then we have Thomas, who's an adorable character. I really enjoy his character, and we actually got to see, I think, more growth from Thomas as a side character than we did from the other side characters, because we got flashbacks from him especially, and his relationship to Cordelia's brother Alistair, who we said previously was a little bit of a bully. And now it's time to cut to the vlog. I keep trying to film this little update, but the dogs keep freaking barking. I'm losing it. I'm getting ready for bed, about to like wash off all this makeup or whatever, but I really wanted to tell you how reading Chain of Gold is going for me. I am currently, I want to say, I think on like chapter 12 or so. I might be further. I'm just kind of guessing. But Cordelia, I'm really feeling her as a character. She's super determined, lively, like she knows what she wants, and she's trying to figure out a way to integrate herself into the whole like London Shadowhunter vibe. Her situation with James, it just continues to like break my heart, because like clearly she loves him, and clearly something is weird with the whole James Cordelia situation. Like as you get further in the book, like you see James, you get flashbacks. So Cassandra Clare is using flashbacks during this book, and she flashes back to like periods where James is sick or periods where James is in trouble, and the things he remembers most, or the person he remembers most or wants around him the most, is always Cordelia. But James is apparently, you know, betrothed to this girl named Grace, but Lucy can now see this ghost that no one else can see, who's connected to Grace and the Blackthorn situation. Something about him, like, I don't know how Cassandra is writing this makes it seem like Lucy and Jesse is the ghost name could kind of be romantic in the future, because he can actually touch her, like they can touch, right? And she's the only person, sans his family members, that can see him, but they're tied up in some necromancy bullshit or the other. So it's like, will he be brought back to life or will he not? Like, it's kind of weird, whatever. But something, like, I know he has to do, I know him being a ghost is going to come into play when it is time for James to do his little like shadow world explorations, for sure. Even though James doesn't know who he is as yet, I feel like at some point they're going to have a little connection. Now to James, my dear James, such a troubled lad. He's trying his hardest, but like he's fighting his genes at this point. Like he's really fighting his genes. I'm at the point where they just battled some of the Cerberus demons that came to follow Miss Grace, and he told the demon, like, you know, leave up out of here, and the demon was like, sure, I recognize your blood. I worked, like, your grandfather is, you know, over us, blah, 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 blah. Now, James out that James's grandfather is a prince of hell. We don't know which one. Well, I don't know which one is yet. I'm going to keep reading and come back to you. This is basically like a little vlog, isn't it? But yeah, this James and Grace situation, I do not trust Miss Grace. Miss Grace. Let me tell you something. From the beginning of this book, right, Cassandra made sure to tell us about this little stupid bracelet that's on James's hand that Grace gave to him. Or, well, not, Grace instructed him to go get from her house, right? And when he went to give it to her, she was like, oh no, babe, you keep it. Now he just risked his life, turning into a little shadow creature to walk through the walls of Blackthorn Manor to get this bracelet that she said belonged to her mother. I don't believe it. And goes to give it to her, and now Grace is like, oh, well, if I take it from you, then my mother, the one, her like adopted mother, my mother is gonna know that I took it because she'll see it on my hand. So you didn't know that from before? But also, why you gotta wear it? You could just put it in like a jewelry box or something. So she's like, you keep it. You put it on your hand so you could think of me. Cool, whatever. I was like, a little suspicious. Further on in the book, we hear that the bracelet has a inscription, and the inscription has something to do about loyalty. I said something is up. Something is up because, again, as I said, Cassandra's been using these flashbacks to show us that James has a connection to Cordelia. Grace also makes mention in these flashbacks that James is in love with Cordelia, but all of a sudden, in the present tense, in the present tense, he's all about Miss Grace. There is even a situation, right, where Grace popped up, saw Cordelia was around, and was like, James, like, why is Cordelia here? Kind of getting kind of antsy, kind of getting angry, actually, at him for being around Cordelia. And it's giving hella Little Mermaid vibes when Ursula stole Ariel's voice and then, like, disguised herself as something else. I feel like Grace is something else. She's treacherous. She's trying to get James to marry her. This is it. This is it. This is it. I was on the train reading it, and I wish I was filming myself. I swear to God, I was like this. And then somebody on the train was like, what are you looking at? And I was like, oh, shoot, not you. I was like, Grace is proving me right. One theory down. Period, point blank. Alistair and Thomas, that's another thing. I saw how she was writing Alistair and Thomas, right? And in my brain, I'm like, okay, Cassandra Clare loves a gay couple. Loves a gay couple. There always has to be a gay couple, right? And I was like, we don't have one yet. We don't have one yet. I'm reading. We don't have one yet. We have Anna, who is Matthew's sister, right? No, who's Christopher's sister. There's so many names. That's the thing with her world. There's just so many people, and they're all interconnected, so it's easy to get them confused. Anna's a lesbian, and she is Christopher's sister. Christopher's another one of the little group of boys. So it's James, Christopher, Matthew, and Thomas, right? Alistair is Cordelia's older brother, who's apparently a notorious bully. And you know what bully is code for? Hiding something. Bully is always code for insecurity, right? So said, so done. I get to the chapter when Alistair and Thomas meet in Paris. Period. Knew it already. Cassandra said Alistair touched where Thomas's tattoo was. Why we need to know that, girl? So that was one theory, and then as I read, I'm trying to like catch all up because I wanted to vlog this, but I was like ugly. Like I was ugly most of the time, and I was just like continuously reading, so I didn't have time to vlog it. Right, so then we get to the part where now the Inquisitor's son, Charles, pops up on Alistair at home. Cordelia sneaks down, is peering through some windows trying to see what's up, and it so happens that when Alistair was in Paris, he was hooking up with Mr. Charles. Okay? So now Cordelia knows her brother is gay. Now I can be like, ha! Knew it! There has to be another gay male character because Cassandra Clare loves a gay love story. Period. And so now I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Alistair and Thomas. I don't really like Alistair. So I'm like, I don't really want him messing with my good babe Thomas, you know? And then we come to Matthew. And here's where I think it's gonna get sticky. Because James doesn't know that he's in love with Cordelia because Grace is definitely doing some fuck shit. Matthew seems really, really interested in Miss Cordelia. Okay? I'm thinking we might have a little teeny tiny love triangle. Little teeny tiny, maybe, just a smidgen. I'm feeling it. Just how their interactions have been, how Matthew's been talking to her, how he seems really interested in things that she's doing. I feel like it's coming. My neighbors are arguing. I don't know if you can hear, but that's what happens when you live in the ghetto, you know? But then I have weird vibes from Anna. I'm just saying. I don't know why. I just do. I don't know if it's because they write her as some kind of like fuckboy kind of thing. That's why I'm having issues trusting her as a character, but I'm getting real weird vibes from her. And that's basically where I'm at right now. It's now May 18th. I started this book on May 16th. I should be finished soon, probably in the next 2 days. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so you heard my theories. You heard my theories. Let me tell you how I was right. Let me tell you how my brain does the things, okay? Does the things. So we have Miss Grace. She's clearly a siren. She forces Matthew to kiss her and then threatens Matthew to be like, oh, if you tell anyone what I did, I'm basically gonna ruin your life. I'm gonna tell James you forced me to kiss you. I'm gonna tell your brother, who she's now betrothed to, because she's trying to get away from her mother. And it's like, okay, but you're a shadow hunter. There's an institute. Just go to the institute. But she's like, no, I have to marry into power. Feels strange. Feels kind of evil. Cordelia and James have moments. They have moments where after Grace takes away that stupid bracelet from him, he's released from whatever spell she had him under, and he realizes that he loves Cordelia. But he was fighting it at first because he was like, how can I love Cordelia but I just love Grace? Because he doesn't know his emotions are tied to that stupid bracelet. No one knows that his emotions are tied to that bracelet. No one but us. No one but us. And it's tearing me apart. And it's tearing me apart to watch Cordelia want him to love her, receive that love for like literally 2 seconds, right? For it to be taken away when Grace re-enters and fucks the shit up and throws that bracelet onto his hand again. I know Cassandra Clare likes us to be in pain, but again, if we revert back to that stupid family tree, it says Cordelia and James get married. So in my brain, I'm like, Cordelia fucked that girl up. She probably used Cortana and chopped that bracelet off of James's hand. James is like, oh my god, you're the one I loved forever. Let's get married. And that's how that happened. No! No, that's not how it happened. So at the end of the book, the last couple pages of the book, James and all the rest of the group, they're in an enclave meeting discussing what happened in like the last battle of the book between James and his grandfather, who we find out is a prince of hell. By this time, James already has the stupid bracelet around his hand. Tatiana decides to bring to the enclave the fact that James burnt her home down in Idris, which he did, not directly, but it did happen. It did happen as a cause of him going there and doing something for Grace, because everything leads back to Miss Grace. Everything bad leads back to Miss Grace. Okay, so now she's making these claims about James, and they're serious claims. So Cordelia tried to protect James, and in doing that, she actually ruined herself. And as we said earlier, she's coming to London to make these connections to save her father, which includes being eligible for marriage. She might need to marry into a powerful family because her father's reputation is fast going down the drain. And in this time period, you know, a woman is only as powerful as the connections she has or the marriages that or the marriage that she's in. Cordelia gets up and she's like, no, James didn't burn that shit down because James was with me in my room all night. Cordelia, baby! How? Why? She's like, let me protect my man who's not my man, who doesn't love me, so she thinks. For what? The way that I could not have done it. The way that I would have been like, we were all there, but you just broke my heart, babe. Like, not like a day before, you just broke my heart. Like, I walked in and you were kissing Grace. After you called me my Daisy, after the battle that I came to save your ass at, where was Grace? Because she can't fight, right? She hasn't been trained as a shadow hunter. Everywhere James goes, Cordelia is like, I am following you. Like, if James is her damn power battalion, she'd be up next to James. Like, hey, you fighting? I'm gonna fight next to you, babe. We one and the same. She has the vision. She has the vision, I will tell you, because me, if I just burst my ass fighting your freaking Prince of Hell grandfather to save you, save myself, save all the shadow hunters, break my leg in the process, and I come back to your bedroom to just, you know, relish in the fact that I think you love me, to see you tongue twisting with that little frail, pale, blackthorn girl, everything was going up in smoke. Smoke! Smoke. But no, Cordelia's not me, thank goodness. So she ruined herself. And guess what James did? James proposed marriage. Here I am trusting in this family tree that Cassandra Clare gave to me. I don't even remember when Clockwork Prince came out, okay? I think it was like early 20-teens. Here I am constructing in my mind as I read this book. Yes, James seems to love Grace. Yes, she's a bit treacherous, but him and Cordelia they are going to make it to the end. It's going to be them together because they're getting married. No, it's false. It's false. He proposes just to save her honor and because he knows he can't be with Grace because Grace has to marry Charles. But yeah, he's still under Grace's compulsion because that's what it is at this point. The way it broke my heart when he was just like telling Cordelia, we can do this, we can get married, we're friends, we're great friends, you make me better, all these things he was telling her, and they're coming from a very sincere place. He himself doesn't even understand why he's telling her these things, right? Because he can't remember how he feels. Every time that bracelet gets on his hand, he forgets how he feels about Cordelia until something like jolts his memory real fast, and then he like snaps into like, oh, Daisy, and then snaps right back out. But it was just heartbreaking because he was like, she said to him, she was like, why would you marry me? You don't love me. And he was like, yeah, I don't love you. I couldn't handle that. I really couldn't handle that. So let's just take a pause from that traumatizing ending to say that Alistair and Thomas are gonna be the cutest damn couple ever, and I called it. I did not call Alistair and Thomas. I did not call Alistair and Charles. I was not looking for it to be Charles. I really do not like Charles. So him and Grace being a little coupley couple makes a lot of sense. Charles is definitely a brown noser, in the words of Miss Ungermeyer herself from Lizzie McGuire. So I'm excited to see that relationship play out between Alistair and Thomas. Now, I made mention in the low vlog part about Matthew liking Cordelia. And then I got a little bit confused because James was making mention of Matthew actually having feelings for Lucy. So I was like, because of my head, right? I'm like, Cassandra's not gonna do this to me again. She's not gonna do me another Parvati love triangle, right? Because we had this with Will, Tessa, and Jem. I don't need to feel this again, this heartbreak again, because I really do love Matthew as a character, even though he's broken and has all these things wrong with him. I really love him as a character. I cannot do the whole Matthew, Cordelia, James triangle. Because when it comes down to it, I might want her to choose Matthew. Because I love James, but I'm not... Is this my trauma? Clearly, I'm a little bit more attracted to Mr. Matthew than I am James. Like, I'm just not here for the golden boy. And even though he is a demon boy, he's still a golden boy in the purpose of this work. Like, he still fills that space. Even though he is broken, he's not as broken as Matthew. After I saw what was happening between Matthew and his reactions to Cordelia and his reactions to James as it relates to Cordelia, I was like, he definitely likes Cordelia. And then there was this mention of Matthew liking Lucy, and I was like, okay, now I'm confused. I don't know where we are going. I don't know how this is going to end up. But we're back at square Matthew and Cordelia because Lucy and Jesse. So my brain's just been going in circles. And I don't know if this is really, I mean, of course this is what she planned to do. Like, as I said, the Shadowhunter universe is so vast. But the evilness of giving us that family tree, then to create all of these prequels in which we're trying to piece everything together. And like on her Tumblr, someone asked about the family tree and she was like, oh, don't believe that. That's lies. Like, it's lying to you. Bitch, you made it. You made it. So why would you want to lie to us? Like, why would you want to intentionally cause me that pain? So basically, this entire book has just been a roller coaster of emotions. And all I can say is I 100% dislike Tatiana and Grace. And Charles. We're gonna add Charles in there as well, just because he's a little batshit annoying. I previously had said that Anna was a bit weird to me. I was feeling a bit weird vibes about Anna, which is Christopher's sister. They're Lightwoods. But you know what? She's grown on me. She's just very observant. She notices things before others do, and I felt like it was coming off very like foreshadowy, like she might be in on some of this dirt. But it's just that she's observant. I'm hoping. We'll see, because I haven't read the second book yet. I'm about to start it. Yeah, I think basically that's it. I have my notes in front of me, all scribbled. I will say something that I really appreciated and something that I'm conscious of currently, because as a young black girl reading fantasy, I've always just read fantasy that has been very white-centered, white romance-centered, white narrative-centered, all of that. And I'm making a conscious effort this year to read books that come from different perspectives of different races. And so to have Cordelia as the lead and to have the introduction of like Persian culture into the Shadowhunter world, because we know there's Shadowhunters on each continent, we know they're all over the world, but we've only ever had to deal with American and British, very white. So to have her pop herself into the situation, and we get to see Persian foods, we get to see lots of Farsi in the book itself. Like, I'm learning new words, like I'm learning not a new language, but I'm learning things about a new language. This book was 581 pages, by the way. I probably read it in like 4 days. It's a lot because the Shadowhunter universe is a very widespread space. Now, I am gonna give this book, for me, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. I was up and down. Like, I was up and down. Like, at no point in time was I bored. At no point in time did I want to put it down. It really took over my entire brain. If I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it, like thinking like what's gonna happen, all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it. I appreciated, as I said, the Farsi. I appreciated how well she did the groupings of the Merry Thieves, and like how easily I was able to fall in love with that group of characters, even though we didn't really necessarily get backstory on them. Just know that if I was ever to see Grace Blackthorne in these streets, it's on sight, and that's period. So I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know your reactions to this book. You can tell me some of your theories that are happening in book 2 if you want. I'm about to start reading it, so it's not like if you're spoiling anything for me. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I can't wait to talk to you in our next video. See you next time, hookers.